enjoy. Rumpledethumps coming up. Favorite recipe of the Runkle Young household for many, many years. I don't know when I got this cookbook. Let's see if it has a date. Yes! Christmas 1995. Layne, a little something to help with a little something. Love, Ross. Sundays at Moosewood Restaurant. Cookbook. So I have gathered the ingredients, which is very much what I like to do when I cook anything. I like to get everything put together. I don't like to be rushing around the kitchen. And here is our cheese, which will come later in the process. It could be grated sooner or later, but I like the look of it on the countertop. So here it is, grated for us. Alright, main ingredients. Potatoes, onions, broccoli, cabbage. Later we will add sour cream, butter, and we'll top it with the cheese. That's what we've got going on here. To prepare, you're going to need a good knife. I hope you have one. You're going to need a nice size steamer. If you don't have one, you can do it without, but it's a whole different process. I'm sure you can extrapolate. This is how I've always done it. It works great. The recipe calls for 5 potatoes or 2.5 pounds. I find over the years that I've made it, that's really not required. 3 good-sized potatoes typically makes plenty of potatoes to do what you need it to do. So, we always start with our potatoes getting peeled and then chopped into chunks. So let's get going. If you don't have a good peeler, you're going to want one of those. You can also do peeling your potatoes without. You can also more than likely do this without peeling your potatoes. It's going to change the consistency, as I am sure you know. I always peel them. Not hard to do. Be careful, as you always want to be when you are in the kitchen with sharp and hot objects. I don't worry about some dark spots. They don't ever bother me. I don't think they bother anyone else, ultimately. Alright. I'm going to get my pot ready. You will want a big pot if you don't have one. You want one. Again, you might could do this with something else, but I don't recommend it. I put it on high in order to do that. I usually cover it because it makes the boiling time shorter. So while that's boiling, I will chop the potatoes into nice sized chunks. Not too big, not too little. It's not altogether terribly important how big your potatoes are at this point. So don't worry about that. I'm just putting them here right the moment for the moment inside of this steamer, just a place to keep them till I put them in the hot water. So there we are, 3 potatoes, 3 nice sized potatoes. These are russet potatoes, by the way. I don't think you want to use those other fancy kinds of potatoes. Those potatoes are good for other things. This potato has a happy quality of being nice and fluffy when you mash it, which is we're going to be after that fluffy quality of our potato. Like that one too big or that one too big. Okay. The point about chopping your potatoes, a little secret in that is you want them all to be about the same size so they will cook about at the same time. You don't want some overdone while others are not done. So right, the same about the same size of potatoes is what you're looking for. While my water is boiling, and it isn't yet, I go ahead and start on, I start on the next set of ingredients, which are the cabbage, the onion, and the broccoli. And really, I recommend about these amounts. It's a nice, large handful size of a yellow onion. I like to work with yellow. This cabbage is pretty much a medium to slightly less than medium. You don't want it to be too big. You could get away with smaller than this. In fact, we may not even use all this cabbage, but we're going to go ahead and steam it anyway. And then again, about a nice hunky amount of broccoli, which I like to get these days already sort of trimmed away from their long stems. We will most likely use this stem we have. So yeah, let's just start in on those ingredients, and I'll get in going with this cabbage. I like to take out the core with this little sort of wedgy slice. Slice that half in half and then go down the sides like that. You could make these, in fact I'm going to, because ultimately these will be what will be served inside of this dish. So if we make them more bite-sized, it's easier for the eater to eat them. So there we go. That's going to be more bite-sized. You can balance it out after everything's cooked and reserve some or eat some plain if you want. So that tray is pretty much full. When we put, for instance, the next level on it, we want it to have some room, so that's good. So secondly, let's see how our boiling water is going. It's not quite ready. I can go ahead and start chopping. And I will. I'm going to chop my broccoli down. These I like to chop a little in little smaller bits because the way these get cooked is through steam, and the smaller slices that you have, the quicker and more tender they will be when they're in the steaming process. So this is about the size and shape that I go for with broccoli. I put my potatoes in to the boiling water. Just straight plain water. Don't salt your water. I can tell you, we'll add salt later. Some recipes want you to salt the water, but I don't, because I like to save this water and use it later in as a stock. It's a very rich and flavorful, tasty stock. That nice earthy potato influence. So I don't salt it. That way I have control over the saltiness of my next dish. Okay, potatoes are in. Give them a little quick swirl just to be sure they're in there, moving around happily. Now, you really want to have, and I don't quite have, but don't worry about it, your other ingredients ready to go on top. In fact, why don't we just put we'll just do that right now. Put the cabbage on top and let it start steaming while I'm chopping up the rest of the steam ingredients, which are the broccoli and the onions. They steam. You can use separate dishes, but I like to do as few pots as possible, so I put it right on top of the boiling potatoes. If you hold your mouth right, get your ducks lined up, you can pretty much coordinate that your steaming is going to happen. Your steamed vegetables will be done about the same time your potatoes are done. And that's another thing you can learn as you go, how to figure that out for your own self in your own kitchen. Okay, my steam tray is pretty full here with broccoli, but I want there to be some room to layer on the onion there. So I'm going to stop with the broccoli and start with the onion. Take off the outer layers, obviously. Get rid of the little tail end. And if there's a core, sometimes there's a hard core, I just take that off again. So this time, slice, slice, slice. Again, thinking of yourself and others eating this dish, and also thinking of the quickness of the steamability, making it into nice bite-size sizes. I like to spread that out, so again the steam can really penetrate the parts of the vegetable to get it nice and tender. I think we're going to have room to eat this whole onion in. I recommend the more onion the better. So that's where we're going. If you do this quick enough, you can pretty much keep out of the way of that classic onion aroma that makes your eyes water. Okay, so this tray is ready. And I want this tray to go more directly to the steam heat, because it's behind the cabbage and it needs to catch up. So putting it closer to the steam, I think, helps it. There's a steam on top. Now, what are we doing? We're just waiting. Let's set the timer so we won't get carried away. And I'm going to set it for 10 minutes. We'll see what it looks like. From there, what can I tell you? I'd turn the oven on. You're going to want it to be hot and ready once we get it all put together. So right now is about a good time to turn the oven on. 350 degrees. Be sure your tray's in there. This one's a little high because I've been using it for other things. Should be right in the middle. Good place to do the baking. Okay. I get my next setup ready while those things are working their way to tenderness, which is the sturdy steel bowl, the friendly steel colander. Wait. Here we are. How about that? You're welcome to try this without hot pot holders, but I don't like to try that anymore. So I take a look. Just by having seen these things over the years, I can tell that my cabbage is ready. It comes off, sets it over to this side. Probably this is ready, but I'm going to poke it with a fork just to see, to be sure it's nice and tenderized. Again, we have to remember, this is what we're going to find in our pan when we have it all put together. So we want it to be nice and chewable. Yeah, it's ready to go. Take those babies off. Let them go off to the side over here. And here's our happy potatoes. I feel sure they are also tender. Let's be sure. Yeah, perfect. Off goes the fire. Take my 2 pans over to the sink. Big pan and the strainer inside of it, and that's, we go. Carry it over, strain it away. Alright, we're done with that. Here's the next piece. Also, it's going to be very hot, so I usually keep my gloves on. Lift it out so it's rinsed or drained. And let that sit over its boiling pan, and then I'm transferring the fluid. You can see how beautiful that is. What a nice, rich, flavorful stock that will be. this little extra leftover potatoes on the bottom that can be there and cool off. Now our strained potatoes go back in this big, nice sized bowl, and we're ready to assemble. Well, the potatoes are nice and hot. Everything's hot. You dress it up with a little bit of butter, and it's up to you how much or little. That's probably about right for me. The recipe in our cookbook calls for milk, but over the years I've also opted out of milk and into straight up rich and thick sour cream. Nobody seems to complain about that. Again, I mean, you know better than to hope or suppose that we're going to measure this out. We're just going to throw in a bunch that looks right to us. It's like you're making your own baked potato with its sour cream and butter. Also your salt and your pepper. To taste. You can't go too wrong on this. You try to put in too much, but if there's not enough later when you pop it out of the oven, anyone can add their own to their own tastes. I like to see how much salt I'm putting in, so instead of shaking, I pour it out into my hand. I don't want to use too much for our tastes, so I just sprinkle in. That's probably less than half a teaspoon for the whole dish, for my tastes. And the final, whoops, where is it? The famous, have I not got any in the kitchen? This is serious problem. Well, Tabasco. Tabasco would be used here, but wow, do I not even have any here? Let's see. Let's use aardvark instead. It likes to have just a little touch of a zing in it, and it calls for mace, but I tend never to have mace or use it in any other recipes. I have nothing against mace, but because I would only use it so very occasionally, I don't keep it on hand. I like to have a hot sauce on hand, which I know you do too, so here's the point in which you also give your dish, your potatoes, a quick little dash of something spicy. And since I don't have Tabasco, which I'm ashamed to say no good Texan would ever be without, now I'm on tape as being Tabasco free zone. Anyway, here's our aardvark, a worthy substitute to Tabasco. Zip some of that in, zip, zip, zip. Ooh, there's our oven, it's about ready, perfect timing, I love it. Alright, now we mash. This is an ordinary, usual, typical masher, but I like to use, this is usually a pastry cutter, but I like to use this one because of the roundness of the bowl. It makes mashing, to my lights, more conducive. So here, main idea, you don't have to mash like a mashed potato, you just want to get them mushed up. And then you want to, after you get a nice sort of mashy consistency here, again, you do not have to make it look like mashed potatoes, or you can mash to your heart's content. If you want to mash more or less, that's up to you. Main point in this is be sure that we get the creamy, buttery, Tabasco-y, salty ingredients really mixed up. So I am going to use my handy wooden spoon to do that part. You can tell when it's all mixed in. Yeah. I'm not not much of a taster as I go along. I tend to eye things or smell things as I go along, but if you want to sample this to see if it's to your liking for butteriness and sour creamness, this is your chance. I am going to say I want a little more of both of those right now in my dish. So here comes a little more butter, and here comes a little more sour cream. There we go.
So Layne, how's that smell right now?
Yeah, how's it smell? You should tell me. It smells great. It smells like home cooking. We love home cooking. Home cooking is our friend. This makes a great batch. You can eat it and eat it. You can have friends over. Still have leftovers. There. You see how that is really more smooth? A while ago it was kind of powdery almost. Now we've really got this. That's the way I like it. Okay, can't go wrong in this next part. You just dump it in. Although, speaking of going wrong, I would maybe, before you just throw it all in there, because you're not going to be able to take it back out again, just kind of brush in what you think is mostly a major good portion of it, and stir it around. If it looks to you like there's room for more of these green things inside and with your potatoes, then you can add them in. We don't want to lose the potatoey, mashed potatoey consistency, so we don't want too many vegetables in there. Here we go. So again, the mixing is in, the magic is in the mixing. I think I have plenty enough of the green things. I can tell just by looking at it. So here is the process of gently mashing them around so you see that there's pretty much an even distribution of all those fabulous vegetable parts. Yeah, you'll be surprised how it goes together. You'll think, oh, I don't know, maybe I don't know what you'll think, but sometimes I think this isn't going to work, and then it absolutely works. Personally, I think we have room for more broccoli. Everybody loves broccoli. We're going to put that in. Okay. There's a big one. You can, if you see a piece in there that's too big, don't worry about it. You can deal. You can mash it up as you go. People can bite it with their teeth when they run into it. Yeah, when you get to this stage, you are really at the cannot do anything wrong stage. Woo! How's that look? Look mixed up enough? I think so. This is probably optional, but I kind of like to do it as a precaution. I'm going to spray the pan. Speaking of pans, you can maybe do this in a metal pan. I always do it in the pan I have, which is a giant size Pyrex glass. So, here we come. You may not have one this large. If not, you can put it into 2 parts of whatever sizes you have. And again, that makes it easy to share, to freeze. This will freeze quite nicely. I would freeze it before it's baked. It's basically eatable right now. Put it in the oven, just kind of seals everything together, and then it also does that fabulous melty cheese thing, which we'll do right at the last moment. Here we go. Get it evenly distributed. Don't worry if it's kind of poking up over the top of the pan, because it's really not going to go anywhere. It is not going to spill out on your oven. It will not make a mess. It's just going to sit there quietly getting nice and ovenified. There we go. Here's my prepared shredded cheddar. You can shred any kind of cheese you like, or a combo of cheeses. That's a cool thing about this dish. You can add, subtract, multiply, divide. You could top this with other things: peppers, jalapenos, pimentos maybe. I don't know. You know me. You know yourself that this dish is pretty unbeatable just the way it's put together. There we go. Ready for the oven? Here she goes. Simple as pie. Here you go. You're in. I'm going to set the timer for, I don't know, 20 minutes, 15. Let's set it for 15. It's already hot. And after then, we might, depending on how hungry you are and what kind of state you like your cheese in, we could put the broiler on and crisp it up and brown it up and bubble it up. But 15 minutes at 350 is really going to be absolutely set and ready to go. Enjoy. Hot, hot. Yes. Yum. You hear it sizzling? Oven off. Off, where's off? There. That's it. Up we come. Oh, isn't she a beaut? Voila! Just like the olden days. Don't you wish you were here? We wish you were here.